this can spur your creativity, and you can create some new activities once you start using Instagram. There's so much you can do. And don't forget, there's also the video feature, so you can record yourself, your students. There's unlimited potential and possibility with this one little app. And if you think about it, there are so many other apps out there. So if you can generate at least 15 different activities from one little app, that will help your students to learn. And remember, your students are not only learning, but they're having fun, and they're doing something that's relevant to them, yeah? Because they are, our students, if they are using social media anyway, why not incorporate social media into the learning process? Why separate the two? And in this way, we say in English, you kill two birds with one stone, yeah? So the students are learning, but they're also having fun, they're doing something that's relevant to them, they're using tools that they are familiar with, that they like to have fun with outside of the classroom, so they are more likely to engage. And remember, if you are asking students to take photos, this is a very personalized approach, because the students are personalizing their learning, okay? So they're not just talking about some example of two people in a book. It's about them, and so they are more likely to remember and to learn, yeah? Okay, so this was an example I did with my students. Some of these activities I did with my students, others I didn't. Excuse me. So I had some Erasmus exchange students. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Erasmus. It is an exchange program between universities, so in Europe. So if we have a partnering university, say in France, we send maybe a student that wants to learn French to Paris, and then that university sends a student who wants to learn English to our university in London, and so for one semester normally. So we exchange our students. Sometimes it can be even a year, okay? So this is called the Erasmus Exchange Program, very popular program. And at the university where I was teaching, I was teaching usually the students from the Erasmus exchange programs. So their English was, so they were learning English in London. It was usually about an upper intermediate to advanced level, but still English was not their first language. They were not native speakers of the language, and they needed some help, yeah? So we were doing different activities. So for example, one of the activities we did was my summer break or my winter break. So during the semesters, I wanted us to stay in touch, because we would go away, we'd break away for 2 weeks, maybe over Christmas or for the summer break. And I wanted us to stay together as a group in some way, and for the students to not forget about our experience. So I created a hashtag called #MySummerBreak, and I encouraged the students from our class to take photos, just to take photos of what they were doing over the summer. Some of them even made videos, just to stay in touch. And they had to put the hashtag #MySummerBreak, and then we had one page, #MySummerBreak, and all the students were putting all their content and photos and videos on this page. And I think it worked very well. The students liked doing it because they were sharing their photos on Instagram of their summer breaks anyway. So I said, well, why don't you share it on our page, and it will be a great way of us to stay in touch. And they really did, and they liked it. So you can do that. You can also post photos with captions in the students' second language, so whatever they're learning here, it's English. This way students comment, interact and stay in touch. Because remember, this is something, sorry, I didn't mention, but you can comment on other people's photos. So there is a feature where you can comment on the photos. So you can like them, but you can also put a comment and you can have some sort of interaction. So students were encouraged to do that. Another activity that we looked at was a digital show and tell. So you ask students to take photos of their 5 most treasured possessions. This is an example. And they show the photo and talk about it. Okay? So they take a photo of 5 most treasured possessions, they show the photo to the class. So maybe you might have a PowerPoint, you put it up, because you can also access Instagram from the web. So if you need a bigger format, you can do it this way. And then they talk about their 5 most treasured possessions. So you could do that with your students and say, you know, take a photo of 2 things that you like the most. Maybe it's your laptop, maybe it's your iPad, maybe it's your bicycle, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be, maybe it's your tennis racket, whatever the student's most treasured possession is. They take a photo and then they show it to the rest of the group and they talk about it. They say, and then you could ask them, maybe they have to answer 5 questions around this. So, where did you get it from? When did you get it? Who bought it for you? Why is it your most treasured possession? So you could build some questions around it. Yeah. Another thing is you can also, a great feature is the grammar feature. So students were encouraged to snap pictures of someone doing something wrong, or with some evidence of somebody doing something wrong. And this was a great way for them to practice their modal verbs. Yeah? So maybe they would see some rubbish on the street, and the student would take a photo of the rubbish on the street, and then they would have to practice something like, you know, people shouldn't throw rubbish on the street. Yeah? Or maybe there was some graffiti on the wall. Students would say something like, people shouldn't, you know, write or paint things on public property. Yeah? So, you know, these are just ideas, but this was a great way of learning, you know, the new modal verbs in action. So you could ask your students to leave the classroom, you know, for 5 minutes, go around the school and take pictures of something that should or shouldn't be happening, yeah? You know, something wrong that shouldn't be happening. That way the students are exercising, they're being creative, they're running around, they're using they're experimenting with the language, they're taking photos, and then they come back and they talk about it. It's a great little activity, rather than just opening the book and looking at a grammar table. Yeah? Which they should also do to reaffirm what they've learned, but it shouldn't be the way that they discover the grammar, you know, by looking at a table. That's something to just reaffirm their knowledge. Yeah? Okay, another great activity. You won't believe what I saw. That's the title of this activity. So students are taking pictures of signs or words that students want, taking pictures of signs or words that students want teachers to clarify something interesting, funny, culturally shocking. So maybe there is something that is very strange or different, especially when students travel abroad. They are in a strange and new environment, or maybe they don't understand something, so you encourage them to take pictures, and then they show it in the classroom, and then you discuss it. So the teacher tells the students, oh, okay, so yes, that sign means this and this, or this is why it happens. Or, you know, this situation happens because of this and this. So maybe there are some words that students always see, and they don't understand, so they take a picture of this word and later they show it in the class. And not only does the teacher clarify the word to that student, but also to the rest of the group. Yeah? Maybe they've seen something funny. Okay, caption it. So here the students post an interesting photo, and the students have to caption it, put a comment on it, a funny comment maybe, of course in English. And the best caption wins. Okay, so they have to say something funny, something, maybe a bit quirky, and the teacher decides which is the best caption. Okay? Maybe the students at higher levels can do it because they can do an element of irony and sarcasm, perhaps. They can bring that into the fold and make it funny. Then you have something like a photo story project. So maybe your students might put together a scene or do a role play and take photos and then put together a story, and maybe you might ask your students to use 6 or 7 different verbs, okay? And maybe they have to use these verbs in the past form in this story, and they have to take photos and they have to put a story together with these verbs. And they create a story like a comic strip. Okay, that's possible as well with these photos. So you can do that. You can do something like a pronunciation activity. So because Instagram has a 15-minute video, a 15-second video, you can record yourself pronouncing the words to the students, and then put a hashtag on a page where the students can find it. You can call it hashtag homework for group 6B, for example. And they can go there, play the video, and listen to how you pronounce this new word or this new piece of vocabulary that you have introduced into the classroom. Yeah? Equally, it's another fun way to set homework. So maybe you can set a homework task by videoing yourself and saying what they need to do. Okay? So you say, hi everyone, you need to do this and this and this for homework, good luck. Yeah? But the students have to go and find it. Okay? You tell them, you put a hashtag on which page you're using, and then that's where the students find it. So it's another fun thing to do. You can do a photojournalism for an event, so maybe you can do a competition where the best photo wins, yeah? Maybe you will have like some sort of a themed photo day where students are encouraged to go maybe and take the best photo, beach photo, or best natural photo, or a best skyline photo, and then you have a competition and the best photo wins, yeah? This is an example. I also worked at the University of the Arts, and this is an example of art students recreating famous pieces of work, and they have a lot of fun doing this. This isn't exactly the example of my students. This is another example I found online, but my students did something similar. Yeah. So as you can see, this student is trying to recreate the famous Van Gogh painting, portrait. So I think he did a very good job. And here you've got some students who are trying to recreate this piece of art. And then maybe you have to guess what it is. So maybe you tell the students that they need to recreate some famous portraits, maybe Vietnamese artists or portraits, or international portraits. Maybe one of your students might want to recreate the Mona Lisa, and then the other students have to guess. They have to guess what it is, and that can be a homework task. Okay, so the students are being creative, they're taking photos, but they're also having fun and learning. This is another activity. So we're coming up to activity 11. So this is another activity whereby the students are being asked to recreate some idioms or sayings, yeah? So here, maybe you can see this. Can you see what this is here? Can you see what it is? Yeah, it's some milk, yeah. And she's very unhappy because the milk has been spilt, yeah. But maybe you know this idiom, because I'm sure you have to teach your students new idioms. And she put hashtag crying over spilt milk, yeah. So you know this saying. So the students had to recreate in photos famous English idioms, okay? So you know the saying, there's no use crying over spilled milk, yeah? So what has happened, yeah? You can't change it. But the students had fun recreating these idioms, and I can definitely assure you that these students will remember these idioms when they have to recreate them this way, yeah? There is another one here, another example, let sleeping dogs lie, yeah? So someone took a picture of their sleeping dog lying, and that's another idiom, let the sleeping dogs lie. So that's pretty much an idiom where, you know, just leave it alone. You can't change it, yeah? Let sleeping dogs lie, yeah? So it's another example of a idiom, yeah? So you can very much do something like this with your students. With the video option on Instagram, you've got a video blog, okay? So you've got daily, you could do a daily video blog with your students where every day the students have to record a 15-second video about their day, maybe their routine. What are they doing today? What do they do every day of the week? And you can assess their speaking this way, yeah? So you can see whether their pronunciation is clear, whether they are speaking clearly, and whether they, it can even be like a little speaking test, yeah, where they record, so you have some recorded evidence of them speaking, and you can set them a task beforehand and say, right, so in this 15 seconds you have to tell me 3 things that you have done this morning, yeah, so I have, yeah, and then you can practice certain grammar elements as well with this. So, you know, the sky is the limit. The only thing that